September 13th. In 1847, U.S. General Winfield Scott valiantly captured Mexico City for the American motherland. In 1956, IBM introduced the RAMAC 305, the first commercial computer with a hard drive using magnetic disk storage. And in 1969, the greatest piece of cinematic modern history, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, released onto CBS. But now, in 2019, September 13th is a different day, the day of Borderlands. And with the most recent gameplay videos and updates from Gearbox Software, it looks like this third installment in the series is shaping up to bring us yet another renowned and kick-ass time, just like Borderlands 2. But while the promise of even more guns, new characters, new and exciting worlds, and most importantly, walking and talking guns has everyone stoked, I can't help but shake the feeling that there are some new additions that are not only not good for the future of Borderlands, but could ultimately bankrupt the Borderlands experience for the likely millions of new and veteran players that will be joining in for Borderlands 3 alike. And no, this new addition is not tons of microtransactions coming or Randy Pitchford being crazy. What I'm most worried about for Borderlands 3 is actually all of the new loot mechanics, and how it could strip Borderlands of some of the key magic that makes the series so great. I remember back in 2012, when Borderlands 2 first came out, how excited I was coming home from school and being able to open up that new game casing and pop the disc into my Xbox, and just playing for hours and hours with all of my friends for what must have been weeks. I remember all of us playing even when everyone else couldn't get on, just so we could farm up cooler and better, stronger weapons. That way when everyone did eventually get on over the weekend, we could all show off the different things we had unlocked, all the new powers and the guns, and all just go fight a whole new boss together. It was really exciting times, and it kind of put a staple on what made Borderlands so great. Just teaming up with friends and having a kick-ass time getting weapons and just experiencing all the wackiness of the game together. But now, with the release of Borderlands 3 on the horizons, it looks like Gearbox might be steering the game into a way that would not allow for these great experiences that we had before. And I'm worried that the new loot system ideas that Gearbox is introducing, where people can essentially get the same weapons together, might ultimately destroy the essence of what made Borderlands so great. So for those of you who don't know, Borderlands 3 is actually introducing a new system called group loot. How this works is when you load into a lobby, you can either choose personal loot or group loot, with personal loot being how Borderlands worked basically in all the old games, and group loot being a new system where whenever anyone opens a chest and finds a gun, everyone else will also find that same gun appropriately gone to their level. The problem here though is this group loot system kind of takes away everything that makes Borderlands great. I don't want to find the same weapon that someone just picked up on their account, just going to my level. I want to find my own weapons. If everyone in my lobby is getting the same weapons as me, and I'm getting the same weapons as them, how am I going to have these cool experiences with my friends at Vold of just being in a lobby together and getting all these new crazy things? If I'm getting a new walking, talking gun that just shouts back at me every time I throw it out, it's not going to be as cool if every single person in my lobby also just got that gun. And while it is a choice that can be made, the choice between personal loot and group loot that being, it's a choice I think is completely unnecessary for one, and even worse, kind of destroys the essence of Borderlands. Having a group loot system completely removes that awesome experience of getting better and better loot than your friends and showing it off to everyone and having your own experience. On top of that, Gearbox is also adding a new system where any guns you lose, say a gun falling off a cliff, will also show back up at your space station for you to buy later. It's becoming increasingly obvious that Gearbox is trying to tailor Borderlands 3 to a more wide audience. But what I think they're doing so in this is removing what made the Borderlands series so great in the first place. Having everyone receive the same loot and holding everyone's hand, making sure if they ever lose a gun, they can just go back and get it, takes away from the grittiness that Borderlands used to have, and that sense of drive and competition to be better than your friends. Something that really, at a human level, is important in having a game that can last and grow, and a community that can come together and have fun together. If everyone's getting the same guns, and everyone's having their handhold so they can just go get any guns they've lost, it takes away from the experience of getting a good gun because, well, everyone else has it, and if you don't get it, feel free to get it later. It's a problem inherent in the actual looter-shooter genre itself, actually. That being that in these games, you kind of have to try and make them more hardcore, otherwise you're going to lose your audience so quickly. What's the point in having a community and coming together and having fun killing these bosses if everyone's getting the same things and everything's so easy? The funny thing is, while people like to think everyone wants it easy, human beings by nature want a challenge. We want to be better than other people. We want to get new guns and new experiences that other people don't have. That way we can have a sense of agency and individualism that can propel us to love the game even more. And while the decision to use the new group loot system or the old personal loot system is a choice that Gearbox is giving the players, I don't think it's a good choice to allow players to make. I'm all for players having agency, as I said, but I don't think it's okay to give players a choice that, in my opinion, completely removes what made Borderlands so great. Even giving some players an option to choose this will mean some will, and that will mean other players will also join them, maybe friends, maybe random people online, and have their experiences ruined as well. Borderlands is art. And while I think art can be experienced in any way that the creators want it to be experienced, having group loop and machine pickups in the game, quite literally, at its very core, removes what made Borderlands so great in the first place. And let's be honest, guys. 5 years after Borderlands 3 releases, 99% of the player base will have moved on to new and other games and will have forgotten about all the new and different guns that they acquired while playing. What they will not forget, though, is all of the memories that they made with their friends and other people online, doing things like stealing each other's guns, losing guns over mountains, and just laughing together about it all. Or coming together and being able to show off their forms of achievement, all the new guns they've gotten, and just kind of admiring all the things they've gotten as a team. The new Borderlands loot system robs players of these striking, memorable, and connecting experiences that brought so many people in the Borderlands 2 community together and spawned so many long-lasting friendships to boot. Borderlands has always been about getting in groups of friends and having a kick-ass time killing bad guys and getting new and exciting guns. But part of that experience was the wackiness of having someone try to steal your guns, losing guns off a cliff, or just having the agency to craft your own narrative inside this small little lobby. Not one dictated by the loot spawns of another person in that lobby. Sadly though, it looks like Gearbox is insistent on holding our hand through this new foray into the Borderlands universe, something that a lot of game companies seem insistent on as of late. And this could result in everyone having the same guns and the same experiences with much less room for individual expression in the lobby that you're in and the larger community as a whole. Borderlands was always a series about getting tons and tons of crazy guns. But the thing Gearbox looks like they are missing this time around is that the series was never actually about the guns. Yes, it was fun to find a new legendary after a giant skag boss battle, and it is an integral part of the Borderlands experience, but the key to all the Borderlands magic wasn't actually the guns themselves, but the experiences that you and your friends built around finding these new guns together, and the crazy things you had to endure along the way, whether that be a wacky story or interesting boss encounters. Borderlands 3 is eliminating this sense of discovery and agency for players, and instead favoring a more streamlined approach. One where everyone is getting the same guns and the experiences are all the same, leaving in its wake a shell of the previous Borderlands experience that robs players of the great experiences of previous entries into the series. And while I am all for more player options in games, This specific option from Gearbox in Borderlands 3 to revamp the loot system if the player so chooses it is the ultimate antithesis to what the actual Borderlands series itself is, removing at the very core what made the series so great in the first place. And at the end of the day, Borderlands is a game about getting the most badass weapons and possible and showing it off to everyone in your lobby. The real question though is a gun even badass if everyone in your lobby has it too?